Welcome to Tipsy Chisme, where we drink alcohol, you listen,
and we gossip.
we have a special guest with us. His name is Richard, aka Richie. It's his last day with us. So we got our first hate comment. So that's exciting news. Means that not just our close family and friends are watching. So thank you for the views. We already tried to have a personal conversation with the person, but they weren't interested in.
Having an actual conversation.
Correct. So, like I said last video, if it's fake, ignore it. So,
Ni modo.
we're ignoring it.
If you want to buy a shirt, link in description.
The quality is really nice.
It is. It's supposed to be baggy clothing for every day, but it's really nice for going to the gym more than anything else because it's a white shirt. You can't see what color bra I'm wearing. But anyways, they're good baggy gym clothes and sweat proof.
What's your code?
Leslie Aide.
All right. So, today we're talking about generational differences. Basically like how different we grew up versus how our parents grew up versus their parents or grandparents.
So, disclaimer. In our family, at least, our generations are pretty close together. So, not everything might be aligned with everybody else or stuff like that. It's just to our experience.
Our mom also came to the States whenever she was younger. The way that she raised us also may have been pretty different than like the typical Mexican household, I guess. Something that is very different between the three generations of us is like how we treat our own bodies, in the sense that like my mom's always told us your body's a temple or something like that, right?
Yes.
And yes, we agree.
Yes.
Right? We have different definitions on like how we treat our temple. So a thing that like we had been talking about are piercings and tattoos. Personally, I have a few piercings that my mom and my grandma specifically are just like they're not for it, which is fine. Which again, like that's what we're talking about here, like how different we were raised. Yeah, so my grandma was raised in an environment where like they were plain out like not accepted, not okay, and it was a sin. For my mom, it was a little different because her generation started to rebel. Like it started becoming more common, but my mom was also very like she has more traditional values as well. And so I think in her eyes it's not like a as big of a thing as it is to my grandma. Now in our generation, there's still a lot of things that like Leslie and I don't really do, and not because we're against it, but just because we choose not to do it to ourselves.
It's not to our liking per se. I was talking about this very recently. I feel like in every episode I said I was talking about this very recently. Like tattoos in general is something that I wouldn't get ever because I'm scared of my mom. I'm just kidding. And I'm too indecisive. I don't like how I try to envision myself if I were to have a tattoo and I don't like it. And I feel like un día me gustaría y otro no. Así
She's
que
indecisive.
yes. Un día tengo en la mente, no sé, una ballena. Me voy a tatuar una ballena. Y me gusta mucho en ese momento, pero como en un mes o en 2 años ya lo voy a ver y voy a decir que no me gusta tanto, ya no tengo el mismo interés. Y es una de las razones que no lo haría.
I think that's what our sister is also like. Like that's the only reason that she wouldn't get. Aparte, she's very bad with pain. But I think that's one of the main reasons that she wouldn't get one either. Now me, however, sorry mom, but personally, I love them.
I love looking at them. That's
Yes.
the thing. I love seeing other people with them, and I think that a lot of people look very good with them. And I like the different designs and the different styles, just not for me.
Now the cultural ones are also really pretty to me. My friend and I were just talking about them and like how they're kind of falling out of tradition specifically for islanders because random people are getting them now instead of like what they're actually meant for.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like when someone does get it, it's like, are you doing it for the right reasons? Is it just like for the aesthetics and stuff like that, which is also fine, but don't appropriate the culture because there's specific reasons why they do those tattoos.
Mhm.
But yeah, so if you were to ever get a tattoo, what would you get?
If I were to ever get a tattoo, I feel like I would get something very small and super significant. Something significant that's not a design.
Phrasing or what?
Yeah, or a certain date or something like that I know is something actually permanent, and it's not a design that I like, oh, I just really like this. You?
You see, I'm not okay. I think I'm kind of indecisive, but I'm also not. Like, if I like something, I'll stick with it. And so I've thought about it a lot. And I just found it on my notes app recently that I did the initial of everyone's first name of my pets. So
I thought you were gonna say family. I was gonna say so else.
no. So it's B for Burger, O for Oogie, X for Zergs, E for Esser, and R for Richie, and it spells out boxer.
So not even Ginger? Repeat Ginger.
Okay, so Ginger was one of my favorite animals growing up, but my current pets, well, Burger and Oogie are with our sister now, but I feel like the ones that we have right now really shaped me, like, in the sense that they were mine. Like, I took care of them, I paid for a lot of their things, currently, everything. Like, with the cats, my mom helped in the beginning, and then when I started to, like, pay for their things by myself, it was kind of like an accomplishment. Like, they felt more mine than just animals. I would want to get something dedicated to all of them. Specifically, I'm so sorry, but specifically Zerks. Zerks and Oogie are just
So last episode we were talking about favoritism.
just Zerks and Oogie have something in my heart, you know. Every time I see Oogie, every time it's his birthday, I'm like. But I also want to get a tattoo with Yoder and Jaren. Our favorite show, you know, Avatar. Not like too out there.
Just an arrow down your forehead.
Just an arrow, you know.
Just like right here.
All throughout my back too. But no. Something dainty, of course, because it's Avatar.
Something feminine.
Yes, for me. They would probably do some weird thing with
an arrow on their forehead.
Probably. I want to get like some sort of phrasing or a quote or something.
So you obviously haven't given it that much thought.
I like haven't really thought about it.
Interesting. Interesting.
But I don't think I would get something like extremely meaningful, like dedicated to anyone or anything like that. Because I could get one in memorial of my grandpa, but that to me is like, why would you do that if he didn't like tattoos?
Yes. No, when I was talking about that, like I meant, for example, like Mateo. To me, he's significant to me no matter what. Mm-hmm. So not necessarily like his face or like, but I've seen like where they do like the footprints of the babies. I think that's very cute.
I don't like those.
I do. Certain ones, not all of them, but when they're small. I don't like the big ones. I like the small ones. Pause.
And for piercings, is there any like that you would want to get?
Well,
oh yeah,
I did have a piercing that lasted like 2 months on my belly button. I only took it out because I got pregnant and I was scared that it would stretch out. When I took it off, it stretched out anyways. The hole didn't close and didn't heal. So when I started getting a belly, it started stretching. And
which hole?
From the piercing. So it looks like a stretch mark now in that area, which is fine. I would get it again if I got skinnier. I probably would get another belly button piercing, and I want to get my ears done. I want to get one specific ear like completely decked out, and the other one a little bit less, like only like 4.
Currently, I think I only want one other piercing. Well, it's the one that's in like your inner ear, but I want it on my right ear because on my left ear I have the top cartilage one. I don't know what it's called. As you can see, like we're not huge fanatics on it. Yeah. It's just like, sure, we'll do it. Sure. YOLO. I actually just recently got my second one re-pierced here because Lisbeth's fiance. Whee! Her fiance pierced this ear, and I'm pretty sure my friend pierced the other side or something like that. Basically, they pierced my second ones, and it turned out crooked, so I went and I got it professionally redone. Something else that I feel is very different between the generations is communication, like how different we talk to like our peers, our friends, our teachers, our adults than how they did or do. I feel as if theirs was very professional no matter what.
Or respectful.
And we're not disrespectful. It's just, I think we get along more comfortably now.
Yeah.
And so, like with my teachers, for example, well, some of them,
That line of professionalism, I feel like it's not as like defined, like, oh no, yo no le puedo hablar a esa persona porque es mi maestro, o no, no le puedo hablar así porque ya no se usa, o sí se usa mucho el usted, y yo sí lo
with
uso
strangers,
mucho.
I do, yeah.
Sí uso mucho el usted, depende de la ocasión, pero por ejemplo mis tías y todo no lo uso. Y no es porque no les tenga respeto, sino como siempre estuvimos muy cercanos, muy cómodos, muy lo que, como le quieras decir.
I think it also has a lot to do with the people that we're surrounded with as well. Like if their teachers didn't give them the safe space to be able to talk freely with them, obviously they wouldn't. Now, I'm not saying I tell my teacher everything, but it's like I'm able to mess around if I know the teacher and like how, again, like you say, I want that. Like I know which teachers I can actually mess around with and which ones I need to be like serious with, which ones I can joke around with and they can joke around with me. And I also won't be like, it's because he called me this.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, that there's boundaries, there's social cues, there's everything. Like we said last episode, o sea, cada quien se lleva diferente con ciertas personas. You can't get along with everybody the same way you get along with one person. If I got along with everybody the way I get along with you,
you'd be canceled.
Not just canceled, I probably...
You're already canceled. Shout out to Sergeant. Friendships and everything, I think we're a little bit more, I mean, we don't have a lot of friends. But the friends that we do have, I feel like we're very open and like we're able to be there for each other kind of distantly. Yeah, like you're not gonna stop your life for them is what I mean. And I'm not saying that they do that, but I think their friendship is more...
Pero aquí está la cosa, though. I don't know if that's generational or cultural. Porque también... No sé, siento que la cultura mexicana o hispana, o no sé si es hispana, latina o lo que sea, pero mínimo en lo que yo he visto en familia y amigos de México, siento que pueden tener amistades con mucha más gente, más cercana, son más cariñosos, no sé, de comentarles a todos de, ay, eres mi crush, o cosas así, pues que hemos visto que no se usa tanto aquí, o sea, sí se usan.
Now, don't get me wrong. My friends, I'm like, get it, girl.
But still, I feel like it's much more in the Mexican culture to be like that. That's why another reason why I feel like my mom has had so many friends too for the longest time, and they kept in contact and they would meet up and all these things. But I feel like that would have to do a little bit with their culture, not necessarily their generation. Like me, I keep in contact with very, 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 very few people. But for example, I have a friend who I never hung out with outside of school, outside of class, and we weren't roommates, we weren't anything. We don't talk often, but like once every 2-3 years, either I'll reply to her story or she'll reply to mine, and then we'll talk for like a whole month, just like catching each other up and supporting each other and all those things. Pero de ahí, yeah.
Go silent again.
Yeah.
I guess I should mention too that Leslie's like barely Gen Z.
Yeah, I don't consider myself Gen Z. I'm too cool for that.
She acts more Gen Z than me.
I don't know about that.
I feel like we should take a test. Well, stop right there. Don't move. Am I
an alcoholic?
Z?
I definitely consider myself a millennial because all my For You page is just millennial stuff.
Short quiz. We're doing the WikiHow quiz on Am I Gen Z or a Millennial to see what Leslie truly is. What songs are on your favorite singing in the car playlist? Crazy in Love by Beyonce, I Want It That Way with Backstreet Boys, Some Nights by Fun, Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus, All Star by Smash Mouth and Tiny Dancer by Elton John, Wannabe by Spice Girls, and Let's Get It Started by the Black Eyed Peas.
I can't relate to any of them. Like, I like some of those songs, but I
It's
don't.
definitely number one for me. Crazy in
I
Love
feel
by
like that.
Beyonce.
I was gonna say that. I feel like I'm more number one than anything else, but in general,
Wannabe though?
Yeah,
If the
I love
other
Wannabe.
one wasn't on there, I would have chosen that one. Let's Get It Started by Black Eyed Peas.
I love that song.
Which one is that one?
Let's get it started.
In here. Anyway, Crazy in Love?
Yeah.
We can all agree that LOL is out. How do you laugh over text? There's the
Why
like.
is LOL out?
I feel like LOL is more of like a mean thing now. Like, wow. Like, sarcastic thing.
I guess I'm mean.
Like, you're so funny. LOL.
I mean,
It's
I'm sarcastic. I'm sarcastic, but I don't ever say LOL in a sarcastic way.
Yeah, I say LOL way too much.
Yeah, almost all my texts have either ha 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 or LOL.
So she did the two like teardrop one. If you had a major appearance change like dyeing your hair, how would you caption your Instagram post announcing it? New hair! Exclamation point. So I just did a thing, period. I wouldn't post about this on Instagram because my friends will see my hair on Be Real first anyway.
Let's be real.
I don't know. Or
Living life.
Living life?
Yeah. I would have put new hair.
I would.
So I just did a thing.
I would put so I just did a thing.
I would have done that in high school.
So the video stopped recording. So you guys missed the rest of the test. But essentially, Leslie's not Gen Z or millennial. She's a cusper. But anyway, what we were talking about was discipline. about how
every generation has different discipline. We were talking about how my grandma hasn't told a lot of stories, like specific stories about exactly how she was disciplined. From what we can tell, it was very physical and very rough. And she says que se me lo mereció. I don't know about you, but I always say that too. Well, that's the topic of today's conversation, I guess.
How different, like, even though we're the same generation, we're so different on how we were raised because, like my mom always says, or she raised us all pretty differently based off of how we behaved.
I feel like with me, she was very much more traditionally raising me, and because she saw that it was failing, she said, let me just switch it up for the other two and see if they do any better. That's the thing, we behave so differently, and I say that too. Yo creo que muchas veces cuando me pegaron, mayoría de las veces que me pegaron, 99%, sí me lo merecí.
99.9.
Yes, sí me lo merecí y no me quejo de que me hayan pegado porque en ese momento no aprendí nada, pero ya después de crecer, siento que como ya a los 25 años, ya como cuando cumplí como 17, 18, siento que empecé a entender un poco más. Sí, a mi mamá siempre le digo, no, gracias, porque como dije en el episodio anterior, realmente no hice mucho, me portaba mal a las reglas de mis papás, pero no hice mucho. Ahora imagínense si ellos no hubieran sido tan estrictos así como fueron conmigo, ¿qué hubiera sido de mí? ¿Qué hubiera hecho? Cosas que, o sea, me salvaron de muchas cosas en ese sentido. Y yo sí agradezco que me hayan pegado, que me hayan disciplinado de esa manera.
That doesn't mean that they weren't strict on our sister and I either. Like, they were pretty strict on us. Our other sister still got the beatings because she would do dumb stuff. I didn't get any beatings.
But that's what I mean though. Like, every person was so different.
Yes. So I had just told Leslie this recently that I was always terrified of getting beat because I would always see them getting beat, and
she learned a lesson because of us.
Yes, thank you guys. So because of that, like, I always tried to be the rule follower and like make sure I was doing everything right and how it was expected. And
even at your 21 years of age.
You think so?
I think you try to do your best to do everything according to
how they want,
as much as you possibly can within your own personal beliefs, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think just recently, probably like that a few years ago, it wasn't rebelling, but it was more of like, I think it's just time to be myself and like not be so scared, which I am still scared of my mom. I also know that she's respecting us growing up more recently and there's like a lot of things that not that we get away with, but that now it's okay for us to do because we're adults.
I feel like, with that being said, I don't think she necessarily like be like, oh, whatever, they're adults. But she is more understanding that we're adults and can't be so like, no, you can't be doing that. No, you're not. I mean, she still tells
She
us.
still mothers us.
Yes,
for
of
sure.
course.
Always will.
As she should.
Yes. And like when we mess up, like she'll let us know. Oh, show. But it's just the discipline is different now. Like it's not, oh, I'm gonna take away your phone or I'm gonna hit you across the face. It's more of like a disappointment now. It's more disappointing than like.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel like the way she phrases stuff, because we get talked to, and it does make you.
I'm just about to cry.
My mom did not like that at all. Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing things different? And for me at least, it does make me think like, okay, let me just make a few tweaks here and there, but
I spaced out again. I have no idea what you said.
I'm saying that I do feel like I've taken my mom's opinions a lot into consideration.
Point is that like even with all the different generational differences of discipline, that I feel we were all raised differently, but we were all raised correctly. We all have manners. We all
respect.
Yeah, we all have respect for people.
Everyone.
The last topic about generational differences, we're talking about about sibling relationships specifically, but relationships in general. Again, going back to like how they communicate more formally, more proper.
Respect for your elders.
That I feel like we're closer.
I feel like the relationship is just different. I don't know about closer, but it's just a little different. Like, I don't know if, again, that's like generational or if that's just how we are.
Yeah. It's because we're more like open to talking to each other about things and not taking it so like too hard. Like our sister, love her, but
I feel like we just have very different opinions in general.
Yes, but we don't ever talk about it because of that. And not that we're like, oh, it's a sensitive subject, don't talk about it. But it's just like, why talk about things that you don't have to talk about? Like, if it's not serious, then don't bring it up.
Because if it is a serious topic that even if we do have different opinions about, we will bring it up and we do talk about it, and everybody will dish out their own opinion. Some feelings might get hurt, but it's okay.
And when we do talk about things that we don't agree with, we also don't get all like...
Yeah, because people have different opinions about stuff. That's what a lot of people need to understand. Just because somebody doesn't agree with you doesn't mean they're a bad person or they're wrong or whatever. They just have a different opinion. And that's valid. We're not supposed to be all the same person. We're all different people.
If we were all the same, we'd be living a boring life.
Exactly. We're all supposed to be different.
I think we see each other more than family. Like, I feel like we've grown more as friends as well. Like, even when we were younger, I feel. Because typically when you're younger, you're like, ew, I don't want to know her. But I don't think we were ever, like, that extreme.
Because Beth was one of my only friends my senior year of high school.
And I was her only friend when she was in school.
I talked about this with my mom a few months ago when I was telling her, like, I really struggle finding friends because I really struggle meeting people with the same, like, everything as me. And I don't want my friends to be exactly as me, but have the same core values or traditions or stuff like that. I don't mind like different opinions because my friends, like my girls, we all have different opinions about a lot of things. But I haven't found my people. Like I haven't found a person that likes the same music as me, that likes the same vibe as me. Like parties that I go to, like 3 parties that I've gone to. Like everything is just so different. Like it's not me. And the only people that have been raised in a small city with the same kind of vibe, that like the same kind of music, for the most part, we all have different styles of music, but I feel like for the most part we vibe to the same music. We can vibe to the same music, you know?
I think it's harder for you because you grew up in a small town and you never left, and then you got put in a big town, but at that point like friendships are already developed, so
yeah,
you're in your own.
Yeah, and I feel like I never actually clicked with anyone. There's just a lot of things that I haven't found in anybody, but the only people that I can relate to in a lot of those things are you guys. The only people that have had the same experiences as me or that I can relate to on a lot of different things is you guys. Music, life, religion, like a lot of things. I feel like the only people I can relate to in that aspect is you guys. There's not a lot of people that had the same experience as me.
I think the reason that the generations are also so different is because is that I think it was very common back then too to shut your siblings out, go out instead with your friends. They were always home, but they also weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom, I always hear stories about how her friend was always there and how her sisters were always out, or when they were there, they weren't really hanging out.
But again, I feel like this is very unique because in a lot of friends that I've made or people that I know, very, very few people are actually close to their siblings.
I will say, yeah, I've kind of encountered the same thing. And I think I just talked about this at work because we were talking about what?
I don't know. What were you talking about?
We were talking about how this woman had a bunch of stretch marks. And I was like, well, you've had a kid before, right? And she's like, yeah, I have 3 or something like that. And I was like, well, I've never had a kid and I have a bunch of stretch marks. And I was like, I think that whenever my sister got pregnant, I think I had a pseudo pregnancy, whatever they're called. I was like, it looks like I got all the weight gain from it. And she was like, oh, are you guys close? And I said, yeah, we're pretty close. She's like, well, that's probably why. It's actually really common for if someone's around you and they're really close to you, they get pregnant for you. And so they get the symptoms without actually being pregnant. Shall we end this with a positive note now?
Yeah.
Positive note of today is that despite all of our differences, we share a lot of the same traits and values, and we all get along pretty well.
I agree. I feel like we can learn to respect each other's differences. That's the thing. Because I know I'm not anything like.
For example, if I was to get a tattoo, I would cover it up in front of them.
Same. If I were to get one, because I don't think I would. But out of respect for them, and I think maybe that's why more dainty ones call my attention, porque se pueden esconder más fácil or whatever.
She'd get one on her cute cheese, what she's trying to say.
I think we can learn to respect each other, and that's as a society, not just as a family. I feel like we have to learn how to start just respecting each other's opinions and understanding that everybody has been raised different, everybody has different childhoods, everybody has different families, everybody has a bunch of different things, and we need to start learning how to respect those differences and not necessarily have to be like, oh, okay, well, you like your hair dyed blue, I can respect that, so now I have to dye my hair blue, because that's not what it's about. It's just about being like, okay, you have your hair blue, you like that, I don't, I'm gonna keep my hair green, right, Richie?
Listening to you.
So yeah, I feel like that's a positive note. Just learning how to respect. That respect is a big thing that not a lot of people have nowadays in general, and that's on every generation.
And on that note,
bye.